Um, Today I'll be talking about small team working with big giants on one of the most competitive segment of mobile games market. And my background is that you can call me Buzz, B-U-Z-Z, without the light year. I just can't fly just yet. I'm a game producer at Terato Games, so that's where I work, among the many things that I do. I'm also the IGDA Malaysia chapter coordinator. I also lecture at KDU University College, and I'm also a consultant at MDAC, trying to push the game industry in Malaysia. So, but today the highlight will be what we've been working on at Terato Games for the past 2.5 years. So, the title is kind of a bit mouthful. You say small teams working with big giants. So, I'll go into details on what I mean by that title, because I think it kind of like important one to me. So, let's start where it all begins. So this is Casual Connect 2012. That's like 3 years ago, right? It's still in May. So that's the first time Terato Tech and DeNA Asia Pacific actually signed a co-development agreement. And from there, that's Tashiya Maori and Reza, my boss, sitting in front right there. And also Syama-san and a few other people from MDAC representing what about to be our journey. So that was 3 years ago when we started. Some of you guys probably witnessed that situation, but today you guys get to see the other side of the story, the end of it, of the long journey. Stock up for the journey. So the first thing we do when we start the journey, actually we stock up, right? Kind of like bring everything you got except the kitchen sink. So what we have, actually we are funded. We are forever thankful to be funded by MSC Met3 Fund, co-production fund from MDAC. So that's why I put a Malaysia flag there, and also MDAC. They're at the booth 305 as well, besides our partner DeNA. So this is an interesting time because we actually spent 2.5 years working on a card battle game. So we'll come to what we did and how we did one, what we learned throughout the process as well. So it's all started in 2012 or so, when, if you guys have heard this game, it's called Wish of Bahamut. It was actually the top grossing games for Google Play, the store, for a good 1 year. So that was the first time you have a game on #1 for a good 1 year. Like the whole 300 days of it, they are #1, grossing. And it makes all of us wonder, huh? How did that happen? Because in mobile, games fizzle in and out. Even games like Angry Bird, when they launch, top grossing, and then they'll go down. But this game didn't even budge. It's like they stay there. So we did our research. We realized that the mechanism that comes with it is very, very strong. So, and that's when we decided like we're going to make a card battle game, and none other better partners than the publisher of Wish of Bahamut themselves. DeNA is the partners that we work with. So that's interesting to start with. But the team. So I'll be honest, at the point in time when we started, the entire teams are made of babies. That include myself. I have roughly around 5 years experience in the game industry by then, but I would still call myself a baby in terms of what we're trying to do. So it's like we were so cute, so cuddly, I guess, at that point of time, and we're trying to fight with the big boys or be in the same ring with the big boys. And that's where we start. So I'll cover a bit on team weaknesses. This is back then when we started. So basically, we actually we don't have server-side experience for games. So we've done websites and services for apps, but not games specifically, and not games as a service per se. So we don't also understand the free-to-play model. At that point of time, 2012, it was pretty new in the market, especially for the West and maybe Asia. In Japan, it has been the way for the longest time. Same goes for Korea. So we only familiar with iOS platform as well, because at that point of time, Google Play just started to having some revenue and their user base is growing. So we were predominantly on iOS platform. We developed using Cocos 2D, and now we shifted to Cocos 2D X, which is the multi-platform version of the same engine. So we just started to go into Android at that point of time. So that was interesting time to sort of like, okay, let's brand new deal. Let's take the biggest challenge with the resources that we have, right? But the cool thing, why we sort of like believe in what we do, because of the team strengths. I think there's one thing about us. I'll start with the last point, which is we're crazy enough to believe in the big dream. That's, I guess, how I will describe the team, right? We have 8 men that we work together very closely. So we are passionate about our work. The artists love what they do. The programmers love what they do. The game designers love what they do. So we are like a close-knit family, and we're trying to like build something out of it. We are willing to learn, definitely. We actually went in with the assumption that we know nothing. That's the best way to start, I guess. We also have a base experience building native mobile games on Coco Studio for iOS. So that was the sort of like the game plan, that why we think we can do it, why we are crazy enough to sort of jump into the ring and then try to pick the fight with the big boys. And at 2012, I think it was November, this is what we had in mind. Me and my team, basically, we thought like, okay, since we're going to do a server-based games, let's go with HTML5. I mean, it's portable, it's any platform, it'll work out, right? At that point in time, anybody who say that, oh, I'm doing HTML5, you have like 10 publishers coming to you like, oh, we want HTML5 games. So it's kind of a hot thing at that point of time. So we're like, okay, maybe it's about time for us to try and venture and look into it. And we also thought that to make a card battle game, the most important features that we need to have is actually the ally system, the trading system, chat system, and guild. So sort of the social mechanics or the social systems that you have to support the ongoing live services of the game. So that was our assumption before we start. So we'll come to which part is correct, which part is not so much. So what we did, like any sane game developer will do, is to quickly prototype. So we actually build prototypes. So this is like among the first 2 versions we had. It's very, very raw. We just basically quickly hacked something up on HTML5. We actually used different engine. We tried 3 different HTML5 engine, and it all didn't work out. So that was the output of the prototyping phase that we went through. So basically, we built it. The way it works, the performance is pretty bad. The moment you put animation with 24 frames, it doesn't feel as tight. The control felt a bit clunky. It felt very web-ish, sort of. So we felt like we're missing something. And, but we're still like, maybe we just stick with it because we don't want to figure out how to make web games or games with server on a typical client technologies like Coco Studio and whatnot. So we're like, okay, we'll probably stick with it. But thankfully, we actually had help from DeNA Asia Pacific. So it was Suyama-san and also Jaime Ocampo. So basically, they were helping us understanding what we need to do. So the partnership with DeNA Asia Pacific has helped the team to sort of level up a lot faster, sort of like the MMO kind of power leveling that we have, where you got like level 100 guys helping the level 10 boys killing the small power rings and whatnot, right? Sort of along the way. So we learned about the monetization model, the methods that we use. We learned about user behavior, how users interact, what are those concepts, what are the KPIs and whatnot. We also learned the importance of the core loop and the engagement loop. So how you build your core loop of gameplay and you build sort of like secondary engagement loop for people to actually create their own meta for the game. We were guided on dealing with outsourcing partners, something that we've never done before because most of the stuff that we dealt with is actually done in-house back then. And the most important part is that actually they put a claim on us and say that you should focus on native experience. So we were like, oh, we thought that going HTML5 is a smart move, right? I mean, multi-platform, all good to go. But they told us, no, go native. We're like, that's kind of a backward thinking, isn't it? But around the same time, what happened as well, this happened. So these games, for you guys who do not know, it's called Puzzle and Dragon. It's made by a company called Gung Ho Entertainment. So they make roughly 4 million USD a day today. And so as the whole 2014. So they are among the biggest game out there in the market. And one of the things that Puzzle and Dragon have, in comparison to a lot of things, actually a native experience. So the games is really, really good. The loading time, the sprites animation, the smoothness of the UIs is very native experience. So, and at that point of time as well, the hardware is getting better. So it can perform really well. Yeah, so around the iPhone 4S time frame as well. So it hit really, really well during 2012. But we went on, we did research again. While building our game, we still continue to do research and seeing what's in the market, what's coming out, and looking into what we should learn from the good things and the mistakes that the other have done. And the most interesting part is that, remember the first assumption that we had about what we thought would work? PND had almost none of that, almost close to zero. So they actually don't have complex ally of friend system. You barely know anyone, you can't chat with anyone, you don't have trading ability, you basically play a single player game where you can invite leaders of your ally to go into a battle as a helper, nothing else. So we're like, but why does it work, right? So it creates a strong dilemma. At that point of time in the team, we were like, so which way is to go? And along the way, with guidance from DeNA, we actually kind of figure out how the two works differently. I'll come to that towards the end of it. So after the whole research process sort of, I think it was early 2013, we sort of decided we want to go with two gameplay mechanics. So we sort of built tower defense gameplay mechanic and also a mining-based mechanic, sort of like more puzzle, match 3 kind of base mechanic. But among the other things that we decided is actually we went for the different evolution of visual upgrade for the card art. Those of you who've seen Rage of Bahamut or a lot of the card games out there, what they did for the card art, actually they take one image. For the second evolution of the upgraded version of the card, they'll flip it to the other side and color it with different hue, and they'll flip it again, and they'll flip it again, and then the fourth one. What they did is that they upgrade the attachment, the weapon, the armor, and the costume of the characters inside the card art. So we figure out we don't want to do that, and there's a reason why we don't want to do that, because our characters is used in the game as sprites. So we go like, we don't want to draw 4 sprites for each character. That doesn't make sense. So we want to stick with 1 sprite. So what we did it a bit different. So we actually used the same character, but just different action pose for the game. The other point that we actually decided on is actually the variety of art style. Instead of being either too very anime-ish or too Western oriented. So we sort of trying to like mix both of them in the sense of provide enough for both, but not too heavy into one, because we don't want to just make a very anime-looking game, and we have to compete with a whole lot of anime-looking game from Japan, right? And we don't want to make a very Western Magic the Gathering kind of like painting, and then we have to compete with the Magic Gathering crowds as well. So it's like we're trying to find the one that is okay for both and okay for mixture. So that's basically our decision. By Tokyo Game Show 2013, we sort of have the base MVP, like the most basic playable of both gameplay, the tower defense and mining. A loose tie-in between both gameplay, we're sort of figuring out how it can work. And we have a minimally working client-server architecture. So we have connections, we go into we have data in database loaded. That's how we sort of got the base working. But it's still like too raw at the point of time. But we were showing to partners and people we talked to in Tokyo Game Show. And we came back from Tokyo Game Show realizing like, oh my God, the market is really, really fast, right? So we continued to work on the game as planned towards mid-2014, but we lost our only server developer. So we had one guy who'd been doing all the server-side code on the back end, and we lost him. And we're like, okay, what do we do? So luckily, I have a pretty like trustable team members. So I have 2 client programmers. So I was looking at them when that happened. I would actually just like turn to them on the right, like, guys, I don't think there's any other way we can do this. We can only do it with you guys doing it. So, and then like, okay, we'll do it. So kind of like, thank you. So what happens is that the client programmers, which been doing on a lot of C++ code on Coco Studio X, have to pick up how to build the server side of the game. So, and it took quite a bit of grind. I think it's first 3 months they were like, how does this work? Because they've never done sort of a web server, but they're good programmers, so we believe that they can definitely do it. So within 3 months, with they grind really hard, we crunch many nights, and they level up. to become sort of a full stack developer doing both client and server features for the game. The one thing that I would like to note is actually it's a lot faster because of that. Because what we did is, let's say we do an ally system. So the client side have to have the client code to do the UI, the logic, and the displaying and the rendering. And the server side has to provide the data, what to display and what not to display. So by having the same guy doing both, right, there's no back and forth. If there's a mistake on either side, whether the client side or the updates on the server side, it's that person have to fix it. And because he's writing both sides of the code, there's no delay. You technically know where to fix it. So that's one of the wise decisions we make. But because of that, we actually slowed down our feature set. So, and hence, it took 3 years for it to happen. And for this one, thankfully to MDAC, one of the bigger milestone disbursement of the funding, we actually went and upgrade our machine. So we were really, really happy. We were working on an old MacBook for a good period of time, and like every time we compile, we have like, I don't know, 500 source file, and every time you recompile or rebuild or you change a header file, you compile back, it'll take another 30 minutes. So my programmers, every time they compile something, they will go and make coffee, right? So you'll know that when they go and make coffee, it's compiling time. So no question asked, I guess. But when we got the new machine, the programmers got dual monitor. So it's really good for them because they're opening like PHP, the DB, and the code itself, and the simulator running on like multiple screens, and it helps them a lot. They really code a lot faster. We can get features up pretty fast because of that. So this is the first day that we were setting up. So we were pretty excited to have a new machine, of course. But not just machine. I mean, machine compiles faster, but the motivation of the team is really, really important. We've been grinding on the project for almost 2 years at the point of time. I think the most important thing is to keep the morale high and to make the last few steps that we're going to dash for is going to be the most solid run that we can do all year long. So what we did, we actually, I call it the office power-ups, right? We bought board games. So you can see on the left, the topmost is the bigger, blacker box, for the Cards Against Humanity. For those of you who know, Cards Against Humanity is a really good game for team building. So we played a lot of that. So we got the whole expansion set, by the way. And we also decorate the office. Sort of, you see a lot of the smiley badges we plastered around. And that helps to make the mood of the team a lot cheerier and especially more motivated to do. And by the way, we have one besides the icon. There's a Murphy Law kind of poster. And we pasted it upside down. Because by Murphy's Law, that things go wrong because it will go wrong, right? So sort of like, yeah, that's the truth. We thought we want to put it upside down, but yeah, it went down. So that was sort of the motto, try to make things happy and cheery. Because we know it's going to be a long run, because in game as a service, it's a long battle, right? So the good thing about our experience is that we built our own in-house game as a service solution. So if you guys will be around, there are a couple of talks by people who actually provide game as a service. We actually built everything on top of the client side. We have Cocos 2DX, we have Lua, we have Python and Node.js for debugging, for logging and running scripts for migration. All those kind of things is all there. On the server side, we use AWS, so we actually run on AWS. But inside there, of course, we have PHP, MySQL, and also Redis to run the performance-based DB as well. So on the third-party side, we actually integrated Crashlytic, Flurry, and Firefox. So sort of trying to get the data from these services as well. So I believe that's a worthy endeavor, 2 years span to actually build your own tech. Of course, now you have a lot of techs available there, but I think for our team, it works out pretty well for us. The last quarter of 2014, basically we were running towards the finishing line of our journey, and the team members are so tired. We've been seeing the same game for 2 years, but ever more so excited because it's about to launch. And at the same point, there's this game called Terra Battle. Just in case you guys did not know, it's made by Sakaguchi-san, the original creator of Final Fantasy. So we're like, even that great of game developer is actually making card battle games. I guess we are on the right track. So that was kind of a cheery mood because some of us are a huge fan of him as well. The joy and sadness when we soft launched, so that was an interesting experience as well. We did since November till like March. What happens that the test market response was not as encouraging as we thought it would be. We thought it would be more solid. but along the line, we learned a lot of things that we did wrong. So among the things that the background download wasn't working. So what happens is that the game is 22 MB on the store. When you download the app, you have to download more content before you start to play the game. So that was sort of like a backfired on us because people drop out after they download the app. They choose not to download the rest of the stuff. They probably delete the game kind of thing. So because our background software download doesn't work. So it's fixed now. So there was also a lot of crash bugs. Every time we got a crash bug reporting, we were like, okay, putting the hash and whatnot. We also did not build a community support. That's one of the mistakes that we probably will never do again. Even when you're doing soft launch, because they need to file in the report, they need to put in their comments and whatnot. So the struggle is real. So I guess when you're fighting this kind of like really long-term fight, I think we took our time. We fixed the bugs one by one, as much as we can. We keep polishing the game. We took 3 months to port to Android. We thought it's going to be a 2 weeks to a month kind of schedule, but there was a lot of things broken, especially in terms of compatibility of the features of different libraries that we use. And by the time we finish the porting, we look at the game and like, yeah, the game that we have is kind of a bit dated. So the game was designed based on what we've seen back then, and looking at the games that we have in the market now, it's a lot more action and a lot more packed with things for the player to do, I guess. So the things we've learned thus far is that the first thing you need to do is to understand your target audience. When we start building it, we're trying to cater to the Japanese market, which is very what I call the achiever, explorer kind of battle players, right? Whereas when you talk about Western, you have a lot more of the socializer and also the killer type of player. So you can see like the Western kind of games like Clash of Clans is competitive, and you see the Western, the Eastern kind of game, the Japanese kind of game is more individual or a single player experience, sort of like Puzzle and Dragons. So you need to understand where you're going for, and you need to build a community of passionate players for your mid-core social games. This is really, really important. And one of the good point that we got from the cookie or the strawberry in the jar is that one of the commenters we get like kind of like this game so far. Gold is a bit hard to get, but I like the evolution process. If you remember, that was one of our early decisions not to use the card art that is flipped. So it says that not just a stupid recolor when evolved. So that's something like we're like, yeah, somebody is agreeing with us that it's actually a good improvement for the genre that we are in. So we revamped one of our core gameplay. We are changing the meta for the core loop to build a better engagement loop for the players. So we are making it a very different experience to a certain extent. And after 2 years, the mountain that we look at on the day one didn't seem too high because you keep climbing every single day. You're just making your small steps. And you look back, you go like, oh, we were almost there. We actually went that far. And the most interesting part, in my opinion, is that the team is super excited because to a certain extent, we believe that there's something to chase, right? So after you went 2 years into it and there's still more to, the finishing line is not there yet, I think it's really, really encouraging to a certain extent when you are making your final dash, sort of to say. So, so I'll just play a quick trailer so that you guys know what we built, right? So that's the trailer of the game that we'll be releasing soon. So I'll just wrap up with the last two parts of my point. I think the future that we are looking forward, especially, it has not been an easy journey. It has been a long journey. But I guess whatever we went through, the learning experience, the whole crunch and whatnot, made us a much better game developer. Now we know that we can actually make a game as a service game. But then we hope we can make a game as a service game. We are global launching today. In fact, the approval is coming from Google, hopefully by midnight. We will push hard to make it work for the next few months. It's still going to be after the finishing line, you're still going to go like a lot more steps to make it work. But with the experience learned, I believe that we will definitely build more games in the future as a service rather than a product, because it's so much better than what we used to do as product-based games, right? So, yep. I'd like to finish my talk with a brilliant quote that I truly believe in. So, the main ingredient for success is grit, by Angela Lee Duckworth, one of the most popular talk in TED. Because I truly believe that grit is the sole ingredient of success. You cannot give it up. You've got to give your best fight. And by the way, because of all the stress of game development, yeah, I guess I'm 58 years old by now, right? So don't trust Microsoft on that. Okay, I guess that's all from me. Thank you.